Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. This is the first edition of NoDQ&A video for the Twitter era. From now on, I will be answering questions from my Twitter account at twitter.com/AaronRift. Just send me a message or a tweet with the hashtag NoDQ, and I will answer it, hopefully, on the video. You can submit your questions also for Talk Wrestling by using the Talk Wrestling hashtag and the Scoop using the Scoop hashtag. With that being said, let's get down to your questions here. First one today comes from Byron, B_Ron7. Should there be a four-way at Summerslam for the U.S. title with Cena, Rusev, Cesaro, and Owens? Well, at this point, I believe the plan is for Ziggler to come back, Dolph Ziggler versus Rusev at SummerSlam, and then Cesaro versus Kevin Owens in a one-on-one match. For me personally, I would prefer to see a four-way match. I actually think a cool idea would be to have both titles on the line. So if somebody beats John Cena, they win the U.S. title, and if somebody beats Seth Rollins, they would win the WWE title. You don't see that often where two different titles are on the line in the same match. I like it just because of the fact that it would be something different and it wouldn't be the same old thing, and it would just spice things up a little bit. But I think that WWE is set on doing champion versus champion and doing those other singles matches on the pay-per-view. But I would not mind that. Don't think it's going to happen, though. And I got this question here from Isaac51290 on Twitter. Are you invested in any character on the current WWE product? If so, who? Well, I'd have to say Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, I am invested in him. He was the guy that ended the Undertaker's streak. He went on a rampage as WWE champion. I care about the guy. Brock Lesnar is a credible attraction in WWE. When Brock Lesnar comes out, you know business is going to pick up. He's a big deal. Brock Lesnar has been protected, and WWE has been really, really careful about making him a big deal ever since he ended the streak. I care about what happens to Brock Lesnar. I care about how WWE books him. I will say I care about Seth Rollins as well. I mentioned in previous videos, I think he should be portrayed more like Triple H as a dominant champion. I care about him. I cared about Seth Rollins going back to the Shield. I was invested in the Shield, and I'm invested in all those guys. With Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, I feel WWE has dropped the ball with both of them to some degree, and I'm hopeful that in the future WWE will turn things around and make me care about those characters, because I'm starting to lose interest in Ambrose. I'm starting to lose interest in Roman Reigns. I have been losing interest in Roman Reigns, but lately Dean Ambrose hasn't done much of anything, and that's a shame because all three Shield members should be top guys in WWE. And I got this question here from one-of-a-kind J Flash, Jared J. Smith. Hey Aaron, what do you think of Arnold being in WWE 2K16? NoDQ&AV, the old CAW league that used to be featured on this channel, we had the Terminator first. We were doing the Terminator in video games 10 years ago, over a decade ago. That's my take on it, but I've gotten other questions. This one from High42Day44. Is the release of the Terminator on WWE 2K16 a good move for WWE? Some are for it while others are against it. Your thoughts? I think it's a smart business move. I think that this could possibly open up the door to more celebrity characters being in WWE video games on an official capacity. I think it would be awesome if down the line we got like Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger officially in the WWE video games. I mean, capitalize on that. Do what NoDQ&AV did, but bring in these characters as official playable characters. Maybe WWE can strike a deal with Marvel and bring in some of the comic book characters. I mean, having Batman in there would be awesome. That's DC. I just totally screwed that up. But you know what I mean. Bringing in Spider-Man and all those guys into the world of WWE, I think that would be awesome. And that would be a dream come true to play against your favorite WWE superstar, against your favorite movie character or TV character. I hope this is the start of bigger things to come with this. I love the idea of having the Terminator in the game. It's smart promotional work for WWE to have him in there. It's going to get more people interested in the game. It'll get more people interested in the Terminator franchise. It's a win-win for everybody. I think it's tremendous. All right, this one comes from at Queen City. Should Undertaker use the American Badass gimmick for his match versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam? I always get these questions. Every time Undertaker comes back for a match, I get the question. It's inevitable. Someone always asks me, is Undertaker going to come back as the American Badass? And I have had to answer this question, I think, every year that The Undertaker has come back for a match at WrestleMania. And my answer is always the same. No. Everyone likes The Undertaker as the classic character, the dead man. The American Badass would be cool. I would be down to see him come back with that gimmick. I think it would be somewhat smoke and mirrors. It doesn't erase my whole issue with doing Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. But, for nostalgic purposes, it would be really awesome to see him come out like that. Maybe that would give him a little bit more credibility. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that he's a 50-year-old man getting in there with Brock Lesnar, who's this machine, who's at the top of his game. Doesn't really change much. And we did already see American Badass Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar back in 2002, well over a decade ago. So I don't really feel it's necessary. I don't think it really will add to the match at SummerSlam. And I do not see WWE doing it because they have brought back The Undertaker as the dead man, and that's the gimmick that he has been most known for throughout his career. And I don't see that changing. But if they're desperate enough, maybe it'll happen. I guess you cannot rule it out for sure. All right, this one comes from Mr. Panda 316. Out of the two companies, who do you think has made the worst business decisions, TNA or WCW? This one's really difficult because both of them have made very, very bad decisions. I guess I'd have to say WCW because they made decisions that cost tens of millions of dollars, and you had a company that was beating WWE, actually winning the war, and they went from being highly profitable, and then 2 years later, they just plunged right into the depths of hell and went out of business, and WWE bought the company. But then again, there's a saying, you learn from your mistakes, and those who do not learn from the mistakes are failed to repeat it. TNA did not learn from those mistakes. They hired every single person almost that was responsible for WCW's demise in some way. They hired Hogan, they hired Russo, they hired Bischoff, they hired Kevin Nash, all these guys that had a role in WCW's demise. You bring them in to run your company. I don't think Kevin Nash was in power in TNA, but still they brought him in. So yeah, it's hard to say. It just depends how you look at it. Do you go with WCW for all the millions of dollars they blew, or do you go with TNA for not learning from WCW's mistakes? All right, moving on here. This one comes from Larry Arrowwood. What is Undertaker's most underrated match? I personally would choose Undertaker versus Flair from WrestleMania 18. That is definitely one of the most underrated WrestleMania matches for Undertaker. When you're talking about WrestleMania matches, I would say Undertaker versus Randy Orton from 21. I loved that match. I thought it was better than Undertaker Batista, Undertaker Edge. A lot of the matches that people consider to be Undertaker's top 5 WrestleMania matches, I thought Undertaker and Orton was a top 5. I thought it was a tremendous match. And looking at some other matches, I mentioned this with Jeff Meacham when we did the top SmackDown matches to watch before you die. The tag team Buried Alive match, it was on one of the early editions of SmackDown. Undertaker and Big Show against Rock and Sock. That was an awesome match. even though Undertaker didn't really do much in that. I'd have to say Undertaker versus Steve Austin from SummerSlam. When people look back at that SummerSlam, they think of Triple H versus The Rock in the ladder match. But that main event was excellent. That was a really tremendous match. Undertaker doing the crazy leg drop through the table onto Austin. And, just a really intense match. And a strong crowd. You had Madison Square Garden fans there. That one was one of my favorites that I don't think gets enough attention from fans today. All right, this one comes from Chris O'Donohue. Do you think if Roman Reigns was a heel at the Royal Rumble this year, people would have accepted him rather than booed, and vice versa? Yeah, I think that would have made a difference, but the bottom line was WWE was trying to make him the next top babyface of the company. I feel fans would have been upset either way. Whether he was a heel or a face, because they wanted Daniel Bryan to win the Rumble. The real big mistake, more than anything else, was bringing back Bryan right before the Royal Rumble, because then everyone's getting invested in the idea of Bryan making his big comeback and winning the title back at WrestleMania, the title that he never lost. And that's the story people wanted to see play out. That was really your major issue. With going with Roman Reigns to win the Royal Rumble. And of course how they booked him as a babyface in the weeks leading up to that. That was also a major issue. Alright, this one here comes from Lion T98. Hey Aaron, let's say that Ronda Rousey loses a UFC match and multiple matches. Will WWE still want to bring her in for a match? Absolutely. You have to keep in mind that Brock Lesnar lost his last fight and he retired. I don't think it matters all that much to WWE. I think they just want to bring her in regardless. I think that they would prefer that she had a better win-loss record when she comes in for a match, but it might take several losses before her UFC career ends, and at that point WWE will probably bring her in even if she loses several fights, because she still has value. Her name will still have value. It might lose a little bit of value, but I don't think it'll lose too much. And she's passionate about wanting to get into WWE. I think it'll happen regardless, even if she does go on a losing streak in UFC. And that might be the only way that we see her in a WWE ring anytime soon, is if she goes on a losing streak. If she keeps winning fights, it could be years before we see her in WWE. But I think it will happen. I do predict one of these days Ronda Rousey will wrestle and compete in a WWE ring. I think it's inevitable. So that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Got tons of questions here. Thank you guys so much for sending in your questions. And I apologize if I missed some. I also pick questions that I feel are relevant to what's going on currently in the world of wrestling. And also I try to answer questions that I haven't answered before, and that's very difficult as well. So send in your questions at twitter.com/AaronRift. Try to give me a unique question, and hopefully I'll be able to get to your question. With that being said, I will see you guys next time for more.